Well, you know what I was going to say is what I wanted to write on your book was just because you put a pair of trucker balls on your arm doesn't make it a dick.
That's true. That's true. I got to do
see
something.
See what I'm saying?
I see.
Neither do I.
we are marking out today for real, guys. Aaron Whitlow,
Brandon Spivey here.
We are the Markout Movie Podcasters, and in today's episode, we are joined by none other than the legendary man himself, Mick Strawn.
Hey guys, how's it going? Now, you must remember this. I'm just going to let you know. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to be quiet.
I imagine so.
It's never quiet with me. It's always, I always walk away going, oh, you know when you were in the middle of an argument and you didn't say something and you walked away and went, God damn, I wish I'd said that, right?
Right.
You remember that? This never happened to me, ever. Ever.
I've met you. I know this.
I leave it on the table.
That's all right. We're about to experience the wild man himself. Man, we are so pleased to have you today. How's your day been?
Oh, I'm constantly in the state of remodeling this house. So I was out spending a fortune on pre-finished plywood today. So I'm in a pre-finished plywood mood.
Oh wow.
You know that joke with the balls in the arm?
Yes.
Do you know where it came from?
Somewhere in your mind, I assume.
No. I've been working on that because it's a line that, in another form, but very close to it, didn't get made in Blazing Saddles.
Really?
Yes. Now, Blazing Saddles was originally written by Mel Brooks, but do you know who his writing partner was?
I do. I know.
Who was it? Go for it. Come on.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor, right. And when he wrote the scene for, what was the name? Okay, Brandon, this is your test. What was the name of the sheriff?
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Cleavon Little. Come on, people.
Get him, Mick.
So, look, Brandon, you're fair game.
Oh, I know.
And you know why? And you know why? Because I can see you. That's why you're fair game. Now, so Richard Pryor had written this line for when the lights go out. Ooh, it's true about your people, right? But that wasn't the complete line. Richard Pryor had done the complete line, and the complete line was, "Baby, you're sucking on my arm."
Oh wow! Oh man!
So here's the thing. This is what I'm saying. That was an extension of that joke. So I guess what I was really saying is, Aaron, you're sucking on my arm.
Oh, well, tastes like chicken, Mick. Tastes like chicken. Oh, wow. Hey, great tribute, by the way, to the man himself, Richard Pryor, and Gene Wilder, and Cleavon Little. All three of them are no longer with us. So, yeah.
One of my favorite films. I have to say that one of my favorite all time films had to be Young Frankenstein. Absolutely. And if you didn't know this about Young Frankenstein, 95% of the dialogue in Young Frankenstein was literally taken from the films themselves.
Really?
From the original films. All, like the first 5 or 6 Frankensteins. And I didn't even know that myself until just recently, and I went back and watched all of them, and I go, oh my God, that line was taken. No, not the concept, because the concept obviously was taken, but the lines were taken from him. And when Marty Feldman's walking around in that little tiny cane, that was taken from the Bride of Frankenstein. Literally, he's got a little tiny cane that he walks around with. Igor does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Freaky, right? Oh, I can't believe it that they got away with that.
Hey, I mean, if you think about, though, in film history, Max Schreck got away with a lot when it came to, like, Nosferatu. He, like, literally, he asked Bram Stoker's widow if he could use the rights. She said no. And he's like, but I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm going to anyway. Nosferatu is a really amazingly well done film. I mean, you know, there is a part to Nosferatu, though, that is really strange. There's a part where he is literally casually carrying a coffin under his arm, and not in a normal way. The weird thing is it's like he's got like just the front of the coffin here with the points right here, and just the rest of it is just straight back. And you go, now what was he implying? That's not the center of a coffin. It's just that it's so light to him that he can just, you know, hang the rest of it out. You know, I wonder about these things.
Yeah, I know. Me and Brandon knows because you symmetrics, man.
You know what? I think I should actually maybe let you ask me a question.
All right. Well, my first question for you is, who got you interested in doing art design, doing special effects and things like that, like movies or anything that you saw that influenced you?
The almighty dollar.
Well, there you go.
Originally I was primarily, I worked in construction in San Bernardino, right? And I mean, I was smarter than that, but I did a lot of different jobs, and being as I was smart, I was bored. And I would go out and do drywall for a month, and then paint for a month, and then that. And I was right next to these tracks, and I could spend. You literally could go in and you could change at any time to something else just by signing up for it, right? And that's what I was doing. And my sister came in. My sister had gotten a job in Hollywood as she was in off Broadway plays. And one of the directors that she works for had gotten a job with Apogee, which was a huge effects company, to do a Canadian safety commercial that they spent $5 million on, that is still today one of the most incredibly notorious things. It's like a story all in itself. But this is a really big commercial, and it was a really high effects commercial, and they hired this director. And one thing that you learn in the business is that the first thing that you do when you get hired, especially if you're kind of new at something, you hire people with the criteria that they won't tell anybody else that you don't know what you're doing. And so the director hired her to do the scenic painting. She didn't know what she was doing. I knew how to run a crew. And so her then cover for, you know, being able to do the job without knowing what she's doing was to hire me to come in and help. And we put that commercial, and that commercial literally was three months of work.
Oh, wow.
And I just didn't go back home. I was just tenacious. I just was finding work anywhere that I could. And I worked effects, and I just worked everywhere and did everything and got a reputation for being able to work and use my brain at the same time, which is a problem with a lot of people.
Well, yeah, here's truly. But when you say off Broadway, so was that Detroit? Is that just a fancy way of saying Detroit?
off Broadway. It's like, as Broadway goes out to its edges, it gets these little tiny, like 20 and 30 seat theaters that can say that they're on Broadway, but they don't have any money to pay anybody anything, and it's where everybody's trying Yeah, it's sort of like working your way up from fan films up to actual movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing. Only that's Broadway's version of it. Is off Broadway. So.
Oh wow, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm going to start with something that's probably my most anticipated question. You worked on Critters 2.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited to ask if you helped with the big ball of Krites, but I know you worked with the town. But
that was the Kyoto brothers, right?
First of all, it's not a town. It literally, I built it. I helped them design it, and then being as I wasn't particularly doing anything, and they really needed it done, and I know how to do things quick. I put together 30 to 40 people, and we built the town in about 3 weeks.
wow.
And what that area was you know where the printing shop was, right?
Yeah.
Right, that the center of the movie was the print shop, right?
Yeah.
That had a little section of wall on it that was a school that faced the other direction. Very low buildings, and they had a town that originally they were going to shoot in kind of an abandoned town somewhere back east. But what happened is they had an early snow, and literally at the end of August it was snowing, and by the middle of September it was there were like 3 and 4 foot drifts in the middle of the town, so it wasn't appropriate for the film. So they needed something immediate, and I said, "Well, give me a few weeks, and give me a week to draw it." And I drew it with Philip Foreman, who's the production designer. Give me a week to draw it. And literally, we were in he had a place in Venice, and trust me when I say having a place in Venice it's especially if you're like a fairly new person in town like Philip was. That meant that you literally had I think that his office was basically a converted toilet, and I sat on one side of it and he sat back to back, and we had drawing boards, and like only one person could stand up at a time, so because you needed enough room to like kind of get enough room between you and your drawing board in order to stand up. So it was incredibly tight, and for a week I just sat there and conceived of a town in my head, even without. I mean, we didn't even sketch it, because honestly, we kind of had to just take it off of as we saw it, according to how it worked on the script. We didn't have any time for the niceties of, well, let's give them a sketch and then they can approve it and stuff like that. I just said, you know what, Mick knows what he's doing. Let's have him build a town. So I did, and that's the town we came up with, and it was an incredible challenge. But you mentioned the critter ball, and I have a little story about that. So the place that we built the town on was up above L.A., up on the corner of Bouquet Canyon. Because it had been a very wet summer, the grass around there was incredibly green, right? And there was this one asphalt. What we built on basically the playground that they used for the school behind us, right?
Yeah.
So that was the streets, because it was all asphalt, and we, built that town, and we built the church, and the things we didn't build, the outbuilding that they would have parked the mowers for the schoolyard. That was literally became the building that we blew up for the with all the critters in it, right? But you could see that there was a field, and the field dropped away, right? And so they came in. The Kyoto brothers came in to test their their critter ball. And the one that they had was an aluminum frame that they had kind of, put together, but they even hadn't even welded it. They literally bolted together a bunch of struts of aluminum and then put chicken wire on it and then attached a whole bunch of, critters to it. And we kept looking at it going, wow, that's not going to work. So they said, oh yeah, sure it is. And they said, we're going to go test it on the hill. And they were going to run it. They were going to run it down, let it run down the hill. And so they set it up at the top of the hill, and we decided that, literally all 30 of my crew, I called up just to watch it roll down the hill because I kind of thought that this was going to be pretty amazing. So they let it go, and as it starts down the hill, it takes immediately, every time it would bounce. And every time it would bounce, as it landed, it would become another 3 inches smaller. And it kept rolling down the hill, getting smaller and smaller, and critters were jumping for their lives off of it as it went down. So it's shedding critters left and right and just rolling down the hill. And God, we were laughing. Oh God, it was so fucking funny. And so finally at the bottom of the hill, it was about the size of a beach ball. And I think it had 3 critters hanging on like this. And so that was such a treat to see. And I think that what they went back and they probably did, and I'm just taking a guess at this, but they came back with something that was inflated. So maybe they would have worked off of a weather balloon or the world's largest actual beach ball or something like that, So that was critters.
I know. I was gonna say I know that there's one scene in that movie when that ball was going down,
right?
That you could see make out, I think, one of the Kyoto brothers' foot or something like behind the ball.
Well, yeah, basically it did just become, just rolling a ball from place to place. But still, it was great, I mean, when they had, I still to this day love when they rolled over the guy and he's laying there smoking, because up until that point, you had to think that the critters had not looked as offensive and horrible as they became.
Yeah.
I was gonna say real quick, so when I met you, you was talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Right.
You was talking about that. Can you share with us like what they did for the Freddy Snake?
For the Freddy Snake, that was a long involved sequence. That was you know about the Clorox bottle now, right?
Yes, but he don't know about it. So.
But he don't. Okay. It was an incredibly complicated sequence. There was mechanical. There were. Most people don't know that there are 3 basic kinds of special effects. There's those that deal with makeup effects, and then there's those that deal with mechanical effects, or no, we'll say it this way. Then there's those that deal with optical effects, and optical effects include miniatures and blue screen and CGI. But there's a whole other field that most people don't really. They think that it's tied in with the one or the other, but it's not. It's mechanical effects. And mechanical effects are the people that make things move. Like an explosion is movement. Water raining down is movement. Something moving. And in this case, I actually worked on the setup of the snake in the floor, because the snake in the floor was purely a mechanical effects arrangement. So you don't see the snake, but it actually is a bunch of football helmets on skateboard wheels that are pulled underneath on a track that's mounted to another wall, like it's a wall within a wall, and this wall is broken out by the football helmets on a track being pulled along, and I have great stories about that. But let's just say this, that it required somebody to pull a cable so that the snake would go across the floor, up the wall, and across the other wall. And then and then we literally took that platform up, put it up above. We put the snake on a crane, and then lifted the crane up to burst up through the floor, right? And then when it comes back down and it lands, then we shoot it in reverse as it swallows her. We do that in reverse. We literally take the skin of the snake off of the crane and make it swallow her, and then film it in reverse with she's actually making it chomp her as it goes down the line, and we're pulling it off of her, right? In reverse, then it looks like the snake is chomping, is eating her up. And then it comes back, and part of it is a miniature, and part of it is actually using the snake, another snake that's huge, that is actually being puppeted. And the puppeting was really wild because people, you think of puppets as being, it wasn't like that. It's like literally they were puppeting it with 4x4s from underneath. It was actually pretty hilarious to be able to see them puppeting, because then they'd run around and it's making the movements up there. I was like, oh yeah, that's funny. That's great. So, but when it was all done, and there's a lot of great stories in between the one and the other, but when it was done, they came to, Peter and I were hanging out at his shop. Peter's the mechanical effects coordinator and a good friend of mine. Peter and I were hanging out at his shop, working, I think, on getting ready for Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and the editors come up and say, hey, look, we have a problem. We have essentially, the floor floats, because there was so much energy with all the football helmets that when we were pulling the cable, that it literally made the floor, as it broke up, it sort of made everything on the floor float up like this, right? Mm-hmm. So it was really hard to understand until you got to the wall that it was something that was coming for her, right? It was hard to see that it was coming at her, right? And so Peter and I sat down and we thought about it, and we grabbed a Mitchell of his, and I came up with this idea. I said, you grab a Mitchell. We're gonna put it down. Mitchell was a camera at the time, a 35 millimeter camera, and I went across the street and bought a 12 by 10 rug, like a Oriental rug. We threw it on the ground. We got the Mitchell down so that the rug was the entire frame of it. And then we took a Clorox bottle, tied a rope to it, and pulled the rope straight so that the Clorox bottle came straight at the camera. And that is the first shot that you see of probably at that time $150,000 shot with the whole sequence. The thing that makes the sequence make sense is a picture of a Clorox bottle being pulled on a rope underneath the carpet. And here's the weird thing about it. Once you know that it's a Clorox bottle, it looks exactly like a Clorox bottle.
You know what's amazing about that is that essentially a pickup shot was one of the most iconic parts of that movie. Because when you think about it going over that rug, underneath the rug, you think, oh my, it comes right at you, and you're like, and the great thing about it is that the setup for it is so good, and
it just needed that one shot to separate the setup from the motion, and that shot does it because it just looks like this. It looks like a snake coming right at you, unless of course you know it's a Clorox bottle, and then it looks like a Clorox bottle coming right at you.
I can never unsee it now.
Yeah, that's well, yeah. There's another one, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, that's that way. Is the way that we did the. It was my idea to. Well, I say that we had a problem, and here's the problem we had. We were in the middle of a loop, and we had already started filming. And one of the first things that we filmed was kind of some of the pieces of this dream loop. And you know what the dream loop is?
Is that the end where she?
Yeah, she's coming in around the corner of the end, and and they get in the truck, right? And the thing is we were shooting all the other stuff that was filming at the same time, which was the sequence with the first in the kitchen, first in the Crave Inn, and then the cockroach scene, right?
Right.
Okay. The problem being this is that we started that film with a 60-page outline, and then the writers went on strike, and so we didn't have anything for. We didn't know when we were going to stop the dream loop. We didn't have any. We didn't have an end to that loop. It's funny because the film was as caught in the loop as the filming of the loop was caught in the loop, right? And we're in the middle of a meeting that has everybody in it. I mean, all the way to Bob Shea and, Rennie Harlan and Rachel Tully and virtually everybody, including Peter Chesney, the effects guy. And we're like, okay. So I remember the part that we were at is we were literally talking about a part that eventually they used on part 6, I think, where we were having an argument because we're in a jetliner now, right? We've got this concept that we're in a jetliner and we don't know what we were like literally in the middle of an argument. This is after 2 hours. We're in an argument about who is Freddie the pilot or is Freddie the stewardess or it's like it was terrible. I mean, we were so going the wrong direction to my mind. And I was sitting there and I kind of that thing where you just kind of like put your head in your hands like this and everything out loud. I said, God, I just wish we could hit nothing. And this kid, there's this PA that was like somebody's assistant who was over in the corner, and he goes, because everybody had stopped, and all of a sudden he goes, well, what would that look like? And I go, yeah, what would that look like? That would look like, you know what it would look like? It would look like your bumper stopped, and you ran into your bumper. Like it stopped, and everything piled into it, right? Yeah. And Peter Chesney goes, I could do that. And I go, yeah, we'll tie the bumper to back to a cable, and we'll take the cable, we'll tie it onto something big and parked, and then we'll pull the truck to the end of it and put the camera right there where the end of it is. And we did that. And that's that sequence, that incredible sequence of the truck hitting nothing, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is that it is such a cool sequence, but they left it. We were working so fast that we left in the fact that you can still see the cable snaking out behind the truck on the last shot. Now I've just ruined it for you. Now when you look at it, you're going to go, oh, there's that cable.
I will see it. I will see it now.
I don't mean it's a little cable. It's like that big around. So, because we had to make sure it was going to stop. So, anyway, this is stupid stuff.
This is brilliant stuff. This is brilliant stuff. Brandon, I love it. I love it. I'll let Brandon ask because I come back.
Brandon doesn't say much, does he?
I usually do, but I'm letting you talk, man. I'm enjoying it, man. You got so much knowledge.
You got to come back up against me, I got to have things to bounce off of. Yeah.
All right. I'll try my best.
I just saying.
You worked in the horror field for a long time. I was just curious your experience on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I think it says you were like a production designer.
I was, yeah. We built everything on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and I'm gonna tell you about the bathroom. Right, the bathroom, the bathroom, the bathroom at the gas station, right?
Yeah.
You see, I'd been in that bathroom before. I was trying to put trying to rebuild a scene from my childhood. When I was a kid, auto parts stores weren't like that, really, like the classy. You know what auto parts stores are like nowadays, like fluorescent lights and, woohoo, and dancing. AutoZone, AutoZone, and we're going to sell you some oil, and we're going to sell you this. No, they were meant for mechanics, and they were like mechanics, Most mechanics were. So my dad used to go to this auto parts store, and it was greasy building, it's like greasy countertops and dirt everywhere, but it was, and I'd been to a couple of places with him before, at that time, and that's what, our parts stores looked like. It's like gas stations didn't look like 7-Elevens. Gas stations look like funky gas stations, So one time we go in there and he says, well, I said, I got to pee. And they say, it's okay. Yeah. You go behind the counter and pisser's over there. And so I go in and dude, let me tell you something. Over the years, they had taken, nudity magazines from Playboys, whatever you got, right? And they had glued cutouts to the walls. And here's the thing. It was like right next to each other. It was like wallpaper. It's like you couldn't see the walls. That's all you could see all the way around. Except for like here's the urinal, right? And the urinal was like, one of those. And it had this green streak down the middle from the leaking faucet, right? The leaking valve. And that green streak had nothing but brown between it and the walls of the urinal. That's what everything looked like in there. And there was this spot, right? This just greasy, maggot-infested spot where you would put your hand while you're taking care of the business, right? It was disgusting. And so I tried to bring that image to the fore, but we never even got close. We just didn't. There was just no way we had enough time because we had built all that from scratch,
Yeah.
So we got some of the look. We got maybe an eighth of the way there. But someday I'm going to finish that bathroom.
I can't wait to see it and experience. Well, now I want to experience it. Maybe from a screen, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I do know that in 4, in Nightmare on Elm Street 4,
yes,
my favorite effect. And you slightly mentioned there's 2 of them, but one of them is my favorite effect is the Roach Motel. I also like the Bon Appetit scene. I believe that's in that one. But the Roach Motel.
Right. Oh yeah. That's that's another one of those really, really, really big. I mean, I mean, I think all together is probably a couple weeks of filming. But the thing that's really cool about that sequence that people don't realize is that when you're in the Roach Motel itself, there's no opticals. That's absolutely shot live, and that includes when Freddy looks inside of it, because we used an old form of back screen projection. You know, and what was so cool about it was when he's looking inside of there like that, we had filmed that when we were at the original location, right? And then when we were on our, Roach Motel, which was a built thing, his looking at it was just projected on a screen, and what you'd had to do is you had to get the camera, and you'd roll the camera, right? And a guy would stand here with in fact, I did it a couple of times just because, it was like, okay, well, hey, somebody would know how to do this. And what you had to do is speed up or slow down the projection until it synced perfectly with the camera. And all of a sudden you would see the image start to come up. You had to look in the camera, and you had to see in the viewfinder, you would see the image come up. And then it would be full image, and you'd say, okay, they can go. Then they would shoot it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But those, the transition sequence where she's up in there and pulling those were screens. Those were silk screens that were soaked with ultra slime that were pulled off one at a time to reveal. And then the last one, as they're doing it, it literally the face unfolds because it was folded. The face of the insect is folded in here, and it unfolded, and that's why it actually is wider than it looks with her head originally.
Wow. So there's all kind of just sequences just involved with that, with the
oh my god,
with the mechanic itself, with the Frelin, and then also you explain that. So you have the screen where it's Freddy's eye, and then that set which is her, and that set, and then also you have the perspective of Freddy holding the actual Roach Motel himself. So you have a lot of elements.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you start out filming that, and then on location we did the part which was the skeletal parts of the robot of the roach arms were actually covered with gelatin versions of her hands, of her arms, right? Which is great because there was literally a bucket there. Like a trash can of arms, of gelatin arms, and then she gets bent back like this, and it breaks, and then they push the arms of the cockroach through, right? Right. Okay, so you get through that, then she gets up and she runs away. Then, while we were on that location, we did all of his reactions to looking at at her as a cockroach, and then crushing the box. Mm-hmm. Then we're on stage, and we had an enormous, 120-foot long room that was an attic room that goes from little tiny. To really these it goes from half of normal size trusses to trusses being 30 foot high, and we ran the camera with her at it, and that's where you see her. It kind of looks like she's getting smaller and the room is getting bigger. Well, that's just forced perspective, and then you're in the actual really large. Cockroach Roach Motel, which is really, and I gotta tell you something strange. We literally called up the company Roach Motel, right? Mm-hmm. And said, hey, listen, we'd like to use your name in the film, and they said, oh great, we'll send you over as many as you want. They sent us 10,000 empty Roach Motel. They were everywhere.
You probably still own some. You probably still got some in your attic. So.
No, God, no. Me? No, I can't stand. I cannot stand stuff once it's been shot. I have no desire to see it. I literally can walk away. I can walk away from a job with a pencil. That's all I ever take away from it.
I do want to say this, and I'll let Brandon. But I blame you for not having me to lift weights, because that scene when it split, that was over for me. No.
Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah. You know, me too, Aaron. Because otherwise I would have still been 160 pounds.
Yeah. Well, it's that and pork chops, Mick. It's that and pork chops.
Well, yeah, and then pork chops and bacon. God, come on, fucking bacon.
We like bacon, man.
Bacon and bacon.
That's right. Add more bacon.
Yeah. I'd like it. I could be a vegan as long as there's bacon. And actual bacon, not that vegan shit. Maybe I can't be a vegan.
No, maybe not.
No, I don't think so. No. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but I do have a really funny story to tell you about the whole cockroach sequence.
Okay.
The day that we were going to actually work in the room itself, right? The room that we had built, the Roach Motel, the oversized Roach Motel. We had sent and had shipped back in the days where when you sent for something, if it got to you in 3 weeks, you were like, "Whoo, boy, they really got it here quick," right? Mm-hmm. So we had ordered a 50-gallon barrel of Ultra Slime, which is incredibly expensive stuff. I mean, today I think it's still like at $200 a gallon or so, and it's that really stringy, weird stuff that doesn't follow any sort of physics. Literally, on the side of a package, if you get Ultra Slime, they tell you that you have to have scissors standing by in order to open the container, because it's the only way to get it off of there is because it goes immediately, right?
Right.
So and basically what it is it's like a slime, but it's the slimiest slime that you can get. It strings out longer than any others. It has no surface tension. It's basically, I think that what they do is they come up with a batch of Methicil, just your standard stuff, and then they have a warlock come in and bless it, and it becomes Ultra Slime. And so we had sent for this 50-gallon drum, and man, it came the night before we were going to use it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in my office, and it's about 2:00 in the morning, something like that, because we were always working at that time. And I had the 50-gallon drum put in an empty room, 2 offices down from me, because we had to color it. And so what I did was I had a guy get one of those, those big drills that has the whip that does you mix drywall with.
Right.
I mean, the whip is this. Pay attention, Aaron.
I am.
The big whip is like this, and it's got the paddles that bend up, right? And the whip is like that long, right? That long. Okay. So he's I set it up in the room with with one of our art PAs, and I said, I set it all up for him, and I literally give it to him and say, yeah, I want you to mix this color in, and I put in a bunch of food coloring for the orangish color that I wanted, right? And he goes, yeah, thanks a lot, I'll take care of it. And so I go back on down to my office. Well, I just get sat back down in my office and start to draw, and all of a sudden I hear this screaming coming from the other room. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck is that? So I go out and I get in the hallway, and I can hear it's coming from, 2 doors down. It's from the room, and I go and I open up the door, and here's this PA. It's literally the whole 50 gallons of it has, because it's got no surface tension, and he turned the drill on, it climbed the drill and enveloped him.
Oh my God! Like the Blob.
It looked like a scene from the Blob, right? And here's the thing: this stuff was like probably about $20,000 altogether. So he had to wait while I went and got a bunch of people, and we like put him in a kid's pool that we had, and we literally scraped all of it off of him while he was just screaming, and we kept, because he wanted a tube in his mouth so he could breathe. So we did that, and then we just kept, scraping until we could scrape it all off, and then mixed it as best we could and got it out, and that's the goop that you see used on the set.
Man, so essentially, you was like, breathing is a right. You don't have the right. You mess with this.
Well, no one said it was going to be easy.
That's right.
You knew the job was dangerous when you took it.
I'll let Brandon ask.
What was your most challenging shoot that you can remember?
Boy, they're all a pain in the butt. Most challenging? Well, yeah. In all honesty, I did work on Blade, and I did some really cool things on Blade. I did the blood shower on Blade, but I didn't make it all the way through because the director was just such a dickhole. He was such a.
You heard it first. You heard it first, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, look. You know what? The guy directed two things. He directed that, and then he went on to direct the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And if you look at,
bad. And
then if you look at his IMDb page now, he does sculpting for special effects houses. So I guess it's no secret. The secret's out. He's a dick. So there you go. That was my most challenging. It was fucked up in every way, but it was mostly fucked up by a human. But I am very proud of my shower sequence. I am very proud of it.
Me too. I actually seen that scene yesterday. I was watching a YouTube video on Blade,
they give credit for the biggest amount of blood is supposed to go to Evil Dead 2, because they did supposedly they did a $5,000 gallon scene of raining blood in a forest, but it doesn't look like blood. It looks like water. My shit looked like fucking blood.
Yeah, it really did.
It looked like blood.
Yeah. Are you talking about the very beginning with the club scene?
Yeah. That's why is there another scene in there that has 3,500 gallons of blood?
That's the only scene I remember.
Don't remember that.
I remember that scene, but that's all I can say about Blade. I remember that scene. I can't tell you anything.
I was pushing your chain, man.
I remember Sanaa Lathan. That's all I remember, other than the blood scene. That's all I remember.
Gotcha. Well, that's. Yeah.
But I will ask you. Cause I noticed that you did work on. It's not a horror movie, but it is Breaking 2.
Oh,
Breaking 2, the Electric Boogaloo. You did the rotating room, didn't you?
You know what? I helped with the rotating room. I was that was Jim Doyle's job, and here's the funny thing is Jim Doyle. I had come on and helped Jim Doyle with that room, then got the job to do Break-In, and we took over the stage from Nightmare on Elm Street, which is where that room was first in, and then while it was on the stage, then we went and we took that room out and we put in our little garage with the spray painted. By the way, the guy that I have to tell you, we got this guy named God, what was his name?
The dancer?
No. The painter, the guy
okay.
the guy who painted that room. He was a famous Zodiac, right? This was his name, Zodiac, and he painted the room, and then he had to do it twice, right? Pretty much the same, because we had to have one for them to act in, and then one for them to do the dancing in. That was spinning, right? And here's the thing: that guy literally, we bought, I think something like 150 cans of spray paint, and he just took that paint, and we had fans and everything in there, and he just took that paint and then closed the doors on the little room, just disappeared for like 5 hours, and then literally he opens up the door to the room, and all you can see is these eyes, Wah! He goes, "Okay, where's the other room?" And then we went in and we took we had done them in panels inside of that room, and we took them off, and then it was just raw, and then he went back in, and he was in for another 5 hours.
Oh wow!
Woo! Yeah, no fans, no nothing, no ventilation, just him and spray paint for 5 hours in a literally a 7 by 5 by 5 room.
So yeah,
7 by 5 by 8.
So maybe those paint fumes helped him to come up with that design. I know, or maybe it helped Boogaloo Shrimp to be able to dance on the ceiling. I don't know.
See, I seriously, I first of all, what I wanted is I just wanted a cross section of his lungs. I just wanted to see what exactly that looked like. If you cut him in half, like I wanted to count the rings. It's just sometimes you want things, right? And I'm just curious as to whether he actually made it. Hey, Brandon, while you're there, right? Yeah, look up Zodiac, an 80s painter. See if he's 80s subway painter. See if he's still there. See if he's still around. Or you don't do that. Aaron does it. Oh, you look it up. Hell, I'll look it up.
Somebody look it up.
Somebody look it up.
Why are you looking it up? So it says that you're uncredited for Candyman. What did you do with Candyman other than probably like make great friends with Tony Todd? But
okay, this will be the last story. So by that point, I had started doing a lot of fixing, going in and taking horrible situations and turning them around, right? And I get called down to the S&A stages, and there's a producer, and I go into a producer's office, and we schmooze for a while, and he goes, I'm having problems with my art department. And I go, well, I hate to say anything, but you're Candyman, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, you're already on the stage here, and I know that you've been here for at least 2 weeks, because it's like you couldn't get away with any secrets in the town, right? And why do you probably only have like 3 to 4 weeks left? What do you need to do? And he goes, well, we've been having a problem, and I'm thinking about firing the whole art department. And I said, okay, you want me to put together an art department to like start halfway on a film that you're actually filming on the stage now? I said, I wouldn't advise that. I'm not 100% sure that that's a great idea. And then I came up with an idea. I said, tell you what, I'll come in and I'll just, help put things together, and you can call me an art department associate or whatever you want. I mean, I don't give a shit. Just pay me pretty well, right? And we signed a deal, and I was supposed to come in and start the next day, but I thought, they're on the stage right there. The studio had some offices, and their offices were on the stage, and I could tell that they were filming right around the corner. So I went over and waited until the light turned off, and I walked on the stage. And whenever you walk onto a stage during the day, you kind of have to like stand and get used to the low light levels, right? And I'm standing, and there's a front kind of like going away from me at an angle. There's the back of a stage, back of a set, right?
Right.
And over to the right, up against the wall of the stage itself, is craft services. And craft services, the long tables with the coffee pots and the treats and shit. And all of a sudden, this old man, it's probably my age now, right? It's old man. So anyway, this old man comes running around the corner, runs right in front of me, runs right over to the craft service, and he grabs the coffee, the pot of coffee, right? And he grabs it and takes it and goes back and goes around the corner of the set. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I gotta follow that. I don't know what the hell's going on there. And so I follow back and I go around the corner. And as I come around the corner, I can see that like virtually everybody that must be working on the production, which is just standing behind the camera looking over to that side, right? And I was like, well, what the hell are they all looking at? And I come all the way around, and this is what I see. I see an older woman and an older man. One of them has got the decaf. One of them has got the coffee, the regular coffee, and they're trying to splash each other with the hot coffee. Now, the funny thing about it is both of them were kind of older and didn't seem to be like people who could do things. You know what I mean? Office people or cameramen, as it were. And they were like, doing this. The coffee would just, and it would blip out, right? And then the other one would try and throw the coffee and it would blip out. And I went, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is going on here, right? And I watched them attempt to moronically kill each other to various Snickers and stuff from the crew, right? And,
right.
And I went, this is insane. And when I asked somebody, who are these two people? And she goes, well, the guy is the DP. And the woman is the production designer. And they don't love each other. I go, yeah, holy shit. Get a room and blow it up. And so I back out. And I walked back into the guy's office and I said, I just went on the stage, and when I said that, his face went, the producer, his face goes, oh, and I go, yeah, I think we should have a little talk. and so literally, I doubled my fee. And I said, what you really need is you need somebody that'll stand in between those two motherfuckers when they're trying to throw coffee to each other, right? And he goes, yeah, right. That's pretty much the job. And I mean, it included like a lot of make work, but the main thing I had to do was make sure that those two didn't kill each other. And they tried to kill each other consistently and constantly for the next 4 weeks.
It seemed like spy versus spy. Like what?
It was incredible. I mean, they tried every way to undermine. They would try to politically undermine, damage. They would get people involved to like ruin each other's cars and all the rest of this. And it was like a full-time job for 5 weeks for me, so that they wouldn't kill each other. That was it. That's what I was hired for. I've never been hired for anything like that in my life.
It
was hilarious.
It was a lot of money.
I had a great time. I really did.
You got a lot of money to babysit old people throwing coffee on one.
Right.
That was brilliant.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Both of them had been through like rehab so many times that the DP was this guy. I don't know if you've ever seen people from rehab. That do that, Yeah, right, exactly. It's like that all the time, and oh god, it was unbelievable, but it was really fun.
My goodness.
So, the thing is this is like honestly, people ask me about that, all I got is the story. So
That's a great story.
I didn't do much, but I did my job, and they got done with the filming. So
you kept two old people from killing each other.
We're killing each other, yes. and the thing is they were so obsessed with each other that I kind of had to make sure that they actually would do their jobs instead of trying to kill each other. It's like, well, I know you want to go out and flatten his tires, but don't you have a meeting in about 5 minutes? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. It's like, oh damn.
It's like they never talk about that on the making of.
No. See, that shit never comes up. That's. You see, all my stories are. I wouldn't bother to repeat something that would have been on somebody else's making of, because there's so many more stories back behind that.
I believe. Brandon, you got anything?
Well, you did do. You were a first assistant director on a fan film called Friday the 13th Vengeance.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, Jason's my favorite character, and I saw it last year, and I loved it. Any stories you can tell us about that one? That experience?
Oh, you know what? We're kind of running out of time, and I'm just going to suffice to say this: is I had a blast doing it. There was a goose situation on it, but I don't have to tell you about it. There's footage. If you look up Mick and Goose fight, eventually you'll see it. And Vengeance 2 is starting up, and I was going to go in and help them out with that.
I do want to make sure that we pitch you your book.
My
Let
book.
people know about your book.
My book. I normally have a copy of it around here, but it's Behind the Screams. Behind the Screams. It's a book about Nightmare on Elm Street 4. It's got all this cool stuff. It's real behind the scenes stories. It's like the behind the scenes stories that are behind the scenes stories that you've already heard. These are the stories behind those stories. It's very funny. It's very colorful. I designed it to make it look like the book, like the shows themselves, and like the show itself. I'm working on the third now. So I have Behind the Screens, which is about Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and I have Behind the Screens 3. There is no Behind the Screens 2 because, unlike New Line Cinema, I'm not making that mistake.
And then also, I want to also let people know about your podcast. And also, you have an appearance coming up.
I do all kinds of shit. Oh,
you got all kinds of stuff.
It just got canceled. My appearance just got canceled.
Oh.
Yeah, and we were talking about that too. We were like, what? But you know what? Next year, I'm going to be everywhere. Actually, if you're up in the area around for a month, I'm going to be flitting in and out all kinds of little cons that are happening up in the east area because they're not closed down right now. And I'm actually going to be hanging out with a bunch of people from the Nightmare and a bunch of other people, and we're going to take over a hotel and just go to 14 to 18 different shows just before Halloween. So, but it's been a hell of a year, as they say.
Yeah, it's been something.
Yeah, there's been this awful smell in the timeline.
Yeah,
but I thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. So much fun.
And definitely, we got to do a part 2 sometime. Because you got stories upon stories upon stories.
Oh yeah, no, I got. You know what? We'll break away from the nightmares. We'll go into some of the rest of the lunacy. The lunacy.
The lunacy. I love it. Well, this is Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey.
And Mick Strawn!
We're the Markout Movie Podcasters. We thank y'all for joining us, and I guess don't get corona, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.